So as you guys are seeing this, it is my last day of isolation. It is Wednesday, the 30th of June, and honestly, the end of isolation couldn't come sooner enough. Like, all my COVID symptoms have pretty much gone now. I'm recording this on the Saturday, so the 26th. And I feel absolutely fine, but obviously, going to continue to isolate until Wednesday, the day that this video goes up. And once that's over and done with, I can actually go out again, and I think this week I'm going to be vlogging, so that should be interesting. It should be going up next week as you guys are seeing this, but yeah, today we are back with another life story, and this is an interesting one that happened a very long time ago. Now, it happened in the summer of 2012, I want to say, because I was almost 10 years old as this story was taking place. And it takes place in primary school. Now, I do have a lot of primary school stories because a lot of shit happened for some reason at our primary school. It was kind of eventful, and if you guys want to see any more of these primary school stories, let me know, because honestly, some of them are quite funny. Like one time, which I'm not going to get into today too much, but me and my friend Calvin, who I mentioned in the in both of the last stories, we both became local legends essentially at that school, and it was quite funny. But anyway, we're going to move on now to the actual story, because it's actually a pretty damn good one, and it was a pretty vivid memory for me because I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of adrenaline involved for such a pathetic little thing, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, it's a very vivid memory, and we got in a lot of shit for it, so let's begin. So as stated before, this story takes place in the summer of 2012, which would have made me 9 years old, because obviously, as many of you guys may know, my birthday is in the autumn, specifically on October the 19th. So I would have only been 9 years old, which is kind of crazy that I actually remember the story so well. That's mainly just because of what happened and how much trouble we got into. But yeah, a bit of background about my primary school. It was actually a Catholic school, and the second largest school in the area. I believe the non-denominational school is actually a little bit bigger, just because it has 2 floors when ours only had 1. But essentially we did worship and hymns and prayers before lunch and stuff, which is kind of weird to think about it now. Some of the stuff they did at that school was a bit weird. Even though now I am still a practicing Catholic, I honestly think that forcing kids to pray before lunch is a bit weird. I don't know, I don't think kids really care about that sort of stuff. They're basically just doing whatever the teachers tell them to, so that's kind of why I think it's a bit weird. And also the fact that we had priests coming to visit us as well, which was a bit dodgy. Honestly, I'm pretty sure a priest coming to visit that school would have literally been a wet dream for them. Fucking hell, I'm gonna get excommunicated now, aren't I? But yeah, Catholic school, second largest one, and it had a lot of pupils. My class had 30 people in it or something like that. It was a pretty big class for that school. Most classes were between probably 20. Actually, I'd probably say 15 and 20. That's probably a bit more accurate. So the story begins on a nice warm morning as we rock up to school. I'm in a completely bad mood, mainly because the first lesson that we have is maths, and as you guys may or may not know about me, I'm not very good at maths, or do I like it very much. So even back then, I'd absolutely despised maths, so I was just kind of in a bit of a bad mood. And then the next lesson after that, because we had 2 lessons and then lunch, and then we had 2 lessons and then we went home, and with 3 breaks in between, 1 between each lesson essentially, 1 at lunch and then 2 just in the middle of the day to kind of break it up and that. But yeah, we have maths and then we have English after that, and I don't particularly, at this point in time I was impartial to English. It quickly became, after primary school, one of my favourite subjects, just because of what you can do with English and have loads of fun writing the most retarded stories possible, but and also articles where you can just be an absolute cunt to the local council or whatever. So that's why I enjoyed English in the end. But at this point in time, I was kind of impartial to the whole thing, so I was kind of just sat there bored. And same in maths though, to be honest, which I actively despised. I was just sat there bored, not really doing my work, just kind of wondering, I can't wait to get home. And also, what am I having for tea tonight? Because I still wonder about that every single night. The first 2 lessons, English and maths, passed very slowly because I was so fucking bored, just ready to get out of there. But we get to lunch, we crack open our lunch boxes. I meet up with my friends, Jake and Calvin. Calvin obviously is from the last story, and obviously they're not their real names, by the way. But yeah, we meet up, we have lunch, and the dinner lady comes out and rings the bell. And we're like, hell yeah, we know what that means. Because whenever they rung the bell during lunch, it meant we were going on the field. And we had like this little laminated plastic sheet on the wall, which had a tick or a cross on it. And they used to flip it over and on every single day to say, hey, look, we're going on the field or whatever. So whenever we would go over and see that the dinner lady was turning this little piece of paper, honestly, the entire room just erupted into applause. It was really like a good moment, to be honest. In primary school, it was just like the sickest thing, like, yeah, we're going on the field, which, you know, it's a bit overhyped. It was just a field, but we had a lot of fun on there, and you could have like, you know, you could do all sorts, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, so the dinner lady rings the bell, goes over to this like little piece of paper, like gets everyone's attention in the room, and then just turns it over. Everyone starts cheering because we're going on the field. Now, we all go onto the field, and this is where the story like properly begins. So the teacher that we'd had before this lesson, my actual teacher throughout the year, I don't want to say she's a bitch, that's actually quite mean, but she was a mega bitch. Like, Jesus Christ, this woman can absolutely destroy your day if she wanted to. But the lunch bell rings, me, Jake, and Calvin all go out onto the field. We actually have two fields which are like connected to each other. We call one the bottom field, which has kind of got like a worship area, a stage, which is where the year fours hang out. And then there's the top field where people go and play football and that. And on the top field, you've got like a mini forest that's like connected to the bottom field as well. So the bottom field starts in the forest, like when you come through the gate, and then it goes all the way up onto the top field as well, with like little open bits ever. It basically like the Hunger Games. If you watch the first Hunger Games film, it kind of reminds me of that. Like when I read the Hunger Games books when I was younger, I imagine my school field as like is the arena, I should say. But that's getting off topic. So yeah, we basically are in a bad mood. The teacher's been a bit of a bitch to us all day, and we'd had maths and English, which were, you know, both me and Calvin weren't as big a fan of. Like, Calvin kind of liked maths, and, well, actually, I should probably say he was impartial to maths, and then he really disliked English, so kind of like the opposite of me. But neither of us were happy, so we were just kind of like, right, let's make the most of our break and have a run around, do that sort of stuff. And yeah, basically we just go onto the bottom field, go over to the stage, and meet up with two girls, which are Alex and Kaylin. Yes, I did have those names prepared, leave me alone. And essentially the stage is where the year fours hang out, as I mentioned, but it was kind of like just an elevated platform with AstroTurf on it, and it's basically where people in our year just kind of performed like these really terrible mini productions. I don't exactly know how to describe them, but they were essentially an extension of the class worship, because during class worship we had like a bit where we performed a section from the Bible, yes, the Bible, but the Bible, and then we had like our own little thing which was meant to incorporate the teachings from that particular verse or whatever, and then incorporate it into our own like kind of directed event. So that's what we did on the stage. People did their own like productions essentially, and they were really shite. Like, I'm not even gonna lie here, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. They were terrible. But we all are hanging out on the stage, and we end up walking around a little bit, and there's like a woods behind the stage, so we end up like ducking in and out of there to, you know, evade the teacher's eyes. And Alex and Kaylin come up to us and basically just discuss Minecraft and Madma. So if you don't know what Madma is, it was a YouTube channel I used to watch back in the day, and it's Mary and Dad Minecraft Adventures. I'm pretty sure it's still up, but I used to really love these guys, and they did like so many episodes, and there was a new one out like every week, so we were talking about that week's episode, and it was really good fun. And then we were talking about like our own Minecraft builds and stuff. So At this point, we realised that French is after lunch. Now, French was dreaded in primary school just because of the person who taught it. Now, one of the dinner ladies, who was an absolute behemoth of a woman, she taught, is like a assistant sort of thing, and then the actual French teacher was this French woman who spoke, like, hardly a word of English. Like, honestly, she would be kicked out of the country nowadays because she didn't speak English at all, really. Like, she struggled so hard with it. Maybe that's a bit of an over-exaggeration, but she really did struggle with English, and she ended up just, like, shouting at us in French half the time, and it was really quite funny. But as I mentioned, no one likes French, so we were all deciding, we don't want to go to French. What can we do about this? I know, there's a place on the top field where there's, like, a break in the fence. We can go home. And we were like, oh shit, yeah, that's a really good idea. So we come up with this master plan, essentially, to distract the teachers while we go through this fence. So basically, we get this kid called Nathan, which, by the way, once again, is not his real name. But Nathan is like the year below, and we just basically get him to tell the teachers that some other people in our year were doing a performance down at the stage, and they'd go and watch, which, like, they always did, essentially. So yeah, the teachers go, Nathan goes with them, and he essentially just, like, keeps them occupied with some of the other year fours who are performing on this little shitty stage thing. And then we start moving towards the top field. Now, in the woods on the top field, there's, like, this fence, which is kind of, like, covered in ivy, and someone had broke the bottom bar of the fence, if you know what I mean. So you could easily crawl through there into the graveyard. Like I said, Catholic school, so there was a church and a graveyard behind it. So we end up just thinking, right, we're clear, we can just go for this. So each one of us, I believe there's about 5 of us, I don't know where I got 3 from. So there's 5 of us, all 5 of us just slip through this fence and into the graveyard, and we're like, yes, we escaped from school, which was a bit of a premature victory, and we end up just, like, leaving the graveyard. And once you get out the graveyard, there are 2 turns you can go. You can go left, which then takes you down to the main road, from, like, through the church, essentially. So you go through the church, and then you go down onto the main road. Or you can go right, which takes you right past the front of the school, right past the deputy head's classroom, which you'll see why that's important in a minute. And yeah, we decide to go right and decide to go into the fields opposite the school, across the little, like, brook sort of thing. But yeah, that was probably a moronic decision on our behalf, to be quite honest with you, because why would you go right past the school? That makes absolutely no sense when there's literally teachers still in class preparing for their next lessons who could easily just see you and tell the deputy head. But in fact, the deputy head saw us himself, so it was okay. But I think the reasoning behind why we didn't, like, go past the church was because we thought that the priest would, like, tell on us to the school or something, which was an absolutely moronic decision because his car wasn't even there, to be quite honest with you, so he probably wouldn't have said anything. But yeah, we go past the school, the deputy head sees us, and eventually we cross the road and get into the field opposite the school. We cross the brook, and we start basically, like, jumping around in the fields, and we're like, yes, we got out! And then we hear Pablo Escobar himself, I'm calling him that because he looked like Pablo Escobar, by the way. He comes out, he absolutely bellows at us, you kids better get back in school now before we call your parents. And we were like, oh shit, at this point. Obviously not like that because we're year 4, we're not going to be swearing. But we were like, oh god, right, what are we going to do? So we end up lying down in the field, like, trying to hide. And he ends up coming over the brook and just, like, walks around looking for us. And we were pretty well hidden. However, one thing betrayed us, and that was the colour of our school uniforms, as they were, like, navy blue, not navy blue, like a proper deep blue colour. And he instantly saw us the second he got close enough, and he was like, right, you little shits, get back in school now, and I'm calling your parents, essentially. So we all got dragged back into school, and we ended up getting a yellow card, which was essentially, like, just a I don't know, it's basically detention. You stand outside the head teacher's office and just do that for all your break and lunch. Essentially, that's pretty much all it was. But yeah, the deputy head found us, gave us a yellow card. We did get out of French, though. That was probably the main upside, I guess you could say, which is ironic now because I'm learning French. Yeah, having a French girlfriend is not fun, but yeah, essentially putting us all in a yellow card together was probably a moronic decision because they put us all together, so we ended up just talking all lunch anyway. But funnily enough, Mr. Escobar didn't call our parents, and it's kind of funny that my parents don't even know this happened still, and even though it's been like 9 years, but I honestly don't understand why he didn't call our parents. We'd done something pretty severe in the eyes of the school. I just don't understand. Maybe he felt sorry for us. Or maybe he didn't want to go to French either. And the moral of the story is don't run away from school because it's not a good idea. You can get in a lot of shit for that. Especially because the school don't know where you are. And yeah, it's just not good for anyone. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like and subscribe. Make sure you turn on post notifications so you never miss a single video. Or alternatively, you can join the Discord server as a link down below. But anyway, this has been QuinntonTV. And I'll see you all in the next one. Man, I have a sudden urge to run away from home.